What happens when Batman is forced to retire? We're going to be asking this question and a lot more in today's episode of Systematic Geekology. We are the Priests of the Geeks. I'm your host, Christian Ashley. Today, joined by two wonderful vigilantes, one of whom doesn't want to be a vigilante. We've talked about that before. I'm going to make her one because she's my friend. Pang, how's it going?
It's going pretty well. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm in the middle of not doing things right now except sending out resumes. So this is a nice distraction from
Yay,
all that mess.
distraction.
But yeah, but it's not just us. We had to add a third team, the former trio here. Evan Garcia, how's it going, Evan?
What's up? What's up? Doing well. Glad to be here to talk some Terry McGinnis. Some good stuff. Good
All
stuff.
right. Yeah. Yeah. Because we're talking some Batman Beyond today. But before we head that direction, guys, what have you been geeking out on?
So, I just got done watching. I thought I was gonna laugh at it because it looked stupid, but of course I ended up like loving it and binging it.
Nice.
Campfire cooking in another world. My absurd skill. It's so funny.
It's
I
pretty chill.
loved it. It was so
Cool.
great. I
Yes.
was like, I need something stupid to put on, and I like ended up actually sitting and watching it. So it was fun.
Okay. Evan.
I have been watching old videos of home video footage of the old Disney electrical parades because they just
Mm.
announced a new one for Magic Kingdom, and it's been like 20 years since there's been one. So I went down that rabbit hole, and it's really weird to get your Disney history from someone on YouTube that's 15 years younger than you are. Really makes you feel old.
Yeah. Well, they know how to conduct those. Those are well-oiled machines. Like they get everything
Yeah.
set up and people on the sides where they're supposed to be in like no time at
Mm-hmm.
all. It's like, yeah, those are always fun to watch. Me, I have nothing like specific I'm geeking out on other than the fact that I'm organizing all of my books. And I've spent, when I'm not sending out resumes or surfing the internet, I'm being productive and I have a lot, guys. So I actually enjoying cataloging and making sure, okay, I don't have duplicates of this one. I have this one, but not that one.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I like organizing things like that. Everything in my room is a mess, but the books are well organized. So there's that.
Love it.
All right. So, as mentioned earlier, we are going to be discussing Batman Beyond, part of the DCAU, the DC Animated Universe. This is, of course, a spin-off of Batman the Animated Series, taking place hundreds of years, about what is it, 50 years in the future, if I remember correctly.
I think so.
Um,
Yeah.
so, before I go any further, guys, how would you describe what is Batman Beyond to someone who'd never seen the show?
Batman retired. Pretty much, he got old, and he needed someone to replace him. But now we have more technology for the suit.
Okay,
That's what I would say.
Evan.
That's what I remember.
If I'm talking to a Star Wars fan, it would be like it's episode 7 but done right.
Fair,
If you know what
very
I mean.
fair. Yes. Yeah, so essentially, like was brought up before, Batman is just getting old, and in the first episode, we have him in his late 50s, early 60s, thereabouts, maybe even older than that. It's hard to tell. I'm sure someone who actually knows timelines better could say when, but a thug kind of gets to drop on him, and Batman's about to be killed, so he brings out a gun that he takes from one of the people he was beating up earlier, and threatens to shoot the guy, and that stops it, the conflict. But it sickens him so much because his whole shtick is
Mm-hmm.
never using a gun because that's what took the life of his parents. So he realizes he's too old to do this. If he has to rely on a gun, he's no good anymore. So he retires. So we flash forward several more decades, and Gotham has, as it always been, it ends up more corrupt than it was with Batman gone, with out there being a vigilante, making sure people were doing things right. So the police have gotten corrupt in certain ways that they weren't before. Uh, Someone has taken over Wayne Enterprises and now is using it to sell weapons and cause destruction across not only the city but other countries. And we have Terry McGinnis here, who is our everyday teen of the time, who is having difficulty with his parents. They're going through a divorce right now. Uh, yeah, I think they're going through a divorce, and he's flip flopping between the two parents. He's got a younger
Mm-hmm.
brother. He's not doing that well in school because of things going on. He's got a girlfriend that poor girl suffers through a lot in
Poor
this
girl.
series with. A, yeah, a boyfriend who could have been a lot better with communication. To be fair, a lot of it doesn't need to be said, but some could be said. And he ends up at Wayne Manor after being attacked by the Joker's gang, who has been inspired by the original Joker. No one knows where he's at anymore. And turns out it's Bruce Wayne's house. He comes, beats up some fools, even in his old age. And through that process, Terry stumbles upon the Batcave, learns what it is. His father is murdered. He takes the bat suit away and becomes Batman. He and Bruce have their difficulties, but they come together. And the entire series is him becoming Batman beyond the original Batman, this new Batman for a new Gotham. So, guys, what was our introduction to the show?
I just remember watching it on channel 25 WB in like middle school, high school, maybe middle school. I feel like I wouldn't have watched this in high school.
1999, so whatever that was.
I was 7.
There you go. There you go.
So maybe, yeah, so it has to have been elementary, middle.
Reruns, probably
Yeah,
reruns then.
probably solid middle school. But yeah,
Yeah,
I enjoyed watching it. That's the only Batman I watched, probably because I thought the character was cute. More than likely, it
I
tracks for
figured.
me, honestly.
Bruce Wayne didn't do it for you?
No, nah. I need the angsty teens. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Well, not now,
yes.
not now. Now I would get arrested. But back
Hey
then,
ho.
as an angsty
Back then,
preteen, I wanted to
yeah,
watch an angsty teen,
black hair, dark, tall, brooding, you know.
mysterious.
Oh, of course. A little bit of an edge to him. That's what
Yeah,
Pang needed at the time.
and then like I always, I mean, it sounds crazy, but I rooted for his relationship. I liked it whenever he did right by her. I was cheering for her.
All right. Evan.
Um, for me, I just remember. I just. I don't remember a time. I just remember watching this show. Like, I'd have to go back and see what year it came out because I was confused. I thought that was smaller, but that was already in my teens when I saw this. But I remember liking this more than the animated series, and because of the high
Yeah.
schoolness of it all. So, uh, um, I remember there were some beats and some episodes that I remember coming home from school and watching them. Some of the villains were good, and but this was, yeah. I was on my way out of cartoons and stuff a little bit because I was in my middle teens probably. So but yeah, I do remember thinking that that the similarities to the animated series, but the way they tweaked it for the future, it's kind of cool. I thought the whole production design of it.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Me, I was 9 when it came out. So still in that. I'm all about superhero cartoons. I mean, I never really ended, but I was like really into them then. So I had watched
Mm,
everything that had come out for Batman, everything that had come out for Superman, of course, Spider-Man, X-Men, so on and so forth. All those superhero cartoons, loved them. Then Batman Beyond comes out, and it's like he's not a character; he doesn't exist. I knew a little bit about comics, and so this is a
mm,
whole new character. It's like, oh, what are they doing? And it was so cool in this futuristic setting. He's got a bat suit that's familiar, but it's different enough to where he
mm-hmm,
can be his own kind of guy. He's got a different kind of gadgets. The batarangs look different, the villains are different, but there's still plenty of Batman for me to hang in here, and I love this show. It's one of my favorites of all time. So I'm actually kind of curious to see how I'm going to rate it later on down when we do that. But I really love this show.
it is a good show. It is a good show.
Yeah,
From 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 the memes I see online, there's been a lasting legacy of the show. So there's plenty of memes about it. So
Was it that one Derek Powers line? Yeah, I think it's Derek Powers. Yeah, do you have the slightest idea how little that narrows
How
that
vague
down?
that is. Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
yeah, yeah. Hey, there are lots of people raised on the show, and now they're grown ups that are making memes about it. Yeah, it
Mm-hmm.
makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
But so we a little bit we talked of how this is connected to the DCAU, but like how does it factor into the DCAU as a whole? Is this actually the future of that? Is it an alternate timeline? Have at it.
Oh, that I don't know about that.
I
I
say I never really
yeah,
paid
Okay.
attention to timeline
yeah.
or DC when I was that age, but I mean, my educated guess, I feel like it's kind of in the timeline, or is correct us, Christian, or educate us.
This is the timeline following the DCAU. So this is 50 plus years after the events of what would eventually become Justice League Unlimited, because that hadn't come out yet. Um,
Okay.
and it's leading up to all that. And that's why there'll be a cartoon, excuse me, an episode in that cartoon where they go to the future. This is their future. They'll see an older Batman, they'll see an older Static, and so on and so forth. So this is where things are
Static.
going. Um, so yeah, they got a lot of continuation here. We've got like the Joker gang that shows up. We've got um, what's the slapper? I think is the drug that they use here. That's based off of the venom from Bane. We'll see
Oh
Ra's
yeah,
al Ghul
Bane.
later on
Yes.
surviving, and then we'll have what was the format for what would become the Justice League, with the Justice League showing up with Superman and Big Barda and a couple futuristic, like a Green Lantern, Aquaman's daughter, and so on and so forth. And that's one of the inspirations they took to eventually make that series because of this. So, yes, if you're keeping track, this is the future of the DCAU.
I am just now. I know there was a villain that got a spin-off show, didn't he?
Well, there was a runaway robot from the military, Zeta, who got the
Zeta.
Zeta
Yes.
Project show.
Zeta
Yes.
Project show. I that just came back and flooded my memory. Yes, I remember that now. Sorry. All right, yeah,
No, no, it's all good. It all ties together.
yeah. Yeah,
So,
that's cool.
so with that in mind, we've established the show. Let's talk about the actual characters inside of it. Do we have a favorite character in the show?
Angsty hot teen. Duh.
He has a name.
Terry, was it?
Terry.
What was
Back
his
up,
Terry
name?
Terry.
McGinnis.
Terry McGinnis.
Wait, was I right? It
Ter-
was Terry McGinnis?
Terry McGinnis.
Like to drink.
Okay, okay, okay. Yeah. I feel like I even remembered his name. That's impressive for me.
Yeah. I don't remember that many characters. I remember them visually. I remember Mr. Powers and what he turned into. I remember Zeta Project.
The
I
butler
remember
was still
Bane.
there. Love him.
Was
No,
he?
no, he's
I
dead.
didn't remember.
Alfred's
He
dead.
wasn't he wasn't in
Alfred?
there? Was
Okay.
there not another Alfred then?
Alfred, no.
There was
Bruce
another
kind of became Alfred.
really? I don't remember
Yeah.
that. I'm gonna Google it right now. Even though you're right, I'm still gotta
Uh,
Google
all old men look alike to Pang. You know, she doesn't discriminate.
it.
It's the jaw lines.
I remember an old
Okay. Yeah.
character.
Yeah.
I
Solid
remember
choices.
Terry's a good one though because he brings
Yes.
he brings the Spider-Man-ness of it. The
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. This is there was some heavy Spider-Man influences that came here, obviously, from him just being a character, but from the animated show, it was kind of their take a little bit on Spider-Man 2099, which Marvel was going
Right.
to do the same thing. They made Spider-Man Unlimited instead, which that's its own separate thing. Because they were copying Spider-Man with this. They wanted to copy what they were doing with Batman Beyond, so they made Unlimited.
Ah.
So it's just kind of its own thing. It's real funny actually how this show came into being. Do you guys know why this exists at all?
No, but I
No.
give them props for not calling him Batman 2000 because everyone else was calling things 2000 back then.
Okay, so
But
this airs a little after, if I remember correctly, uh, Batman than the new Batman Adventures or whichever one it is that is still the same thing. It just called it by a different name. And I think Superman had ended at this time. Sort of the executives are like, we need a new Batman show.
Mm.
And here's what we want you to do. We want you to put Batman in high school. We want all his villains to be in high school with them. So if you look on the internet, there is concept art of Batman, the Joker, Harley Quinn, a
Really?
couple other of his villains in high school. And they were like, guys, this is one of the dumbest things we've ever heard. What if we kept the idea of Batman in high school, but we didn't make it stupid? And we have a new man, a new teenager becoming Batman who is in high school. So you can have high school hijinks and all the drama that comes with that, but you don't have to put Bruce Wayne. Oh no, the Joker's my lab partner or whatever, you know, which would dilute a lot of the characters. So that's how this show came into being.
So they needed Spider-Man, but Batman, and there were some changes.
Yes.
Interesting. I love it. I love it.
Good
Yeah.
And
job, team. Way to go.
the whole aesthetic of the intro, so it's so good,
Oh gosh.
so good.
Yeah, I have it on my playlist, and every now and then it comes up to say, "Oh, I feel a little more hyped
And
up
there
than I
were
was earlier."
3D versions of them too, of
Yeah,
of Bruce and of Terry. Yeah.
yeah, but I
But
realized I
yes.
didn't actually answer the question. I said, "Now, uh, in my answer for one of my favorite characters, I don't know if she would be the favorite, but I put her up there. It's 10 from the Royal Flush Gang, who kind of becomes Terry's Catwoman in this show.
Okay.
I don't want them to end up together. I still prefer them with Dana, but I think they provided a nice um, contrast to what Bruce and Selena would be in the 50 years earlier. And they even have a nice bonding moment later on where Terry's like really bummed because she's still a criminal and she's gotten away, and he's still feeling pangings of love for her. And he says, yeah, let me tell you about a woman named Selena Kyle. And it was a good way to humanize the both of them because Bruce isn't exactly the most cuddly guy in the world. So
Hmm.
as a result of Terry, having feelings for her and her rejecting her family, this created the scenario where they could get closer together. Terry and Bruce, but also her like becoming her own woman, not really becoming a hero, but rejecting the Royal Flush Gang because they're a very toxic family and deciding, no, I don't want to be part of that anymore. So I appreciated what they did with 10. Melanie Walker being her actual name.
Okay, you saw me
I,
like Googling it, right? I was like, who? I don't remember. Okay, I remember her now.
yeah, I heard you Googling.
Yeah, I was like, who the frick is this lady trying to be a homewrecker?
Pang was hacking into the internet, all
I
of them
was like,
at the
I was
same
like,
time,
who?
just to figure
I was
out
like,
who is this hussy?
who is
How
this?
dare she wreck my one
Go
true
away!
pairing?
Gosh, it's just like Kiki
Encroachment.
Ho all over again.
All
That's Kiki Ho
right,
picking
so
you
those
off.
are favorite characters. Yeah.
Okay.
How about episodes? You have any that you guys remember? It's like that's mine. It's like I could watch that
I
anytime.
I liked any episodes where he was in high school, but once again, middle school, preteen girl. So I remember like him trying to like get back in time for like a date, or like back in time to like for a dance, or back in time like just trying to. I enjoyed any scene of him like juggling both because I guess it felt more
Yeah.
realistic versus like, oh look, it's a super person on a planet doing these impossible things. So it kind of like, as you were saying earlier, it just kind of makes everything more human, and it was like, oh, maybe this could happen one day, like in real
That's
life.
what a lot of where the Spider-Man influence came, is that they were taking like the early Lee Ditko days of him being a superhero, also like, oh no, this girl likes me, but this girl likes me, and I promised I'd go here for a date, but the Green Goblin just attacked, and I got to go fight him, and now I look like I stood her up, and that would happen to Terry and Dana all the time. It's like there's not even just one episode. Like she put up with a lot, and she was a very understanding woman. And I am very glad that it is heavily implied at the end of Justice League when they flash forward, that he's going to actually tell her the truth and ask her to marry him because they've earned it.
Hmm.
Evan, how about you?
I don't remember a specific episode, but I remember, was Mr. Freeze in this too?
Yes, that is
I
an
remember
excellent
some art or
episode.
something like that, and I remember
Trying to
being
remember which one.
very, yeah, I don't know, but that was something that I vividly remembered because when I was making the slides for this, he came up and I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember. I want to say it was the second season that he shows up because they were
Was that
deliberately not
Freeze?
trying to put too.
Okay.
Yes, on the right, they were
Yeah.
deliberately
Okay.
trying not to use all of Batman's villains. They were trying to create new ones for Terry, so they weren't
Mm.
just like legacy villains or the originals there all the time. And Freeze, what they did with him, it's like,
Okay.
oh, yeah,
Okay.
so there's
I
that
need to
hope
go
of
back
like,
and check that
yeah,
out. Yeah.
yeah, because they built up the hope. It's like it's been 50 years or whatever. We can make you a new body. You don't have to live like this anymore. Yeah, your wife
Mm-hmm.
is gone. There's nothing that can be done for her, but there's hope for you. But then he gets betrayed again. And it comes to the point where he becomes a villain once more. But
Hmm.
he and Terry kind of have this relationship, new Batman, old villain, where Freeze kind of sacrifices himself or is about to die. And Terry's like, let me save you. And he's like, trust me, you're the only one who cares. And then he's
Damn.
gone from the show. It's like, oh, what a killer line.
Wow.
Yeah. I
All
love
right.
what they did with Mr. Freeze. That's a
I
solid choice.
remember that having an impact on me, even though I don't remember it. But wow. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to pick the season 3 episode Out of the Past, where Talia Al Ghul shows up and goes to Bruce, and like she stayed young because of the Lazarus pits. And she's like, look, you've got a new Batman. The League of Shadows is still out there. But what we can do right now is we can put you in the Lazarus pit and you can regain your youth. And there's this whole thing of Bruce does get a little younger, he gets a little better at fighting, and there's kind of a talk of, well, maybe he can team up with Terry now. And Terry kind of feels that inferiority complex of like, Bruce obviously has way more experience, and if he gets even younger, he's going to be outclassing him in every way.
Okay.
And then the twist comes in where it's not Talia who's alive right now, but it's Ra's al Ghul who made her sacrifice her body to him because the Lazarus pits weren't working as well on him anymore. So he transferred his mind into her mind, and now he's planning to do it to Bruce. So he wants an actual male body for
Oh
that.
shoot.
And it's just a killer moment of like, oh, yeah, you were always a villain, but making your daughter sacrifice herself this way, and then you're going to try to take Bruce's body as like the ultimate form of revenge. That's some great villain work right there. And I always love the line of he's got Bruce captured and he's still in Talia's body, Raish, and he slaps him, and Bruce says, and you hit like a girl.
Oh, you would get canceled if you said that today.
Bruce doesn't care.
No, he can. It's like I'll buy the network that try to cancel me.
So this is some of our episode taste there. If you got an episode that you really like someone down in the comments below, I'd love to hear it. I mean, there's very few episodes I'd say are kind of bad in this show. But yeah, I'd be interested to see what like that one really struck a chord with me or what have you, or this one didn't. But next up, kind of one of the things that is brought up multiple times in the show that are previously brought up in Batman the Animated Series is that Gotham itself is just a place that's corrupt and full of crime. So we see in the future it's pretty much the same, only the names and locations have changed. So in your opinion, does this mean that Batman is just doomed to fail in his crusade to fight crime? Or is there something more to discuss there?
Mm,
I think it plays to the theme of, what's the phrase, or like like it plays to the theme of to why Bruce is doing what he does. Is he doing to clear it out to make Gotham good, or just to have an effect on the city, which I think he learns that he has, and he needs to maintain that effect, that iconography to have a lasting impression. But yeah, he just shows that it's exhaustive work being a vigilante, and that it takes the best out of you, and it when you reach a certain age, it's who knows, it might not be worth it. Hopefully, you have someone like Terry to come up and to know the suit already and know how to use the gadget somehow.
Thank.
Can you rephrase the question? So you're pretty much saying
Yeah.
Gotham is known for being rough. So is
Yeah.
fighting crime unavoidable for Batman? Is that the
So
question?
if you look back at Batman the animated series, Gotham
Mhm.
is corrupt. Police force, parts of it are corrupt. There's always the good
Mhm.
cops like you know Gordon, and then later on and beyond, we see Barbara Gordon has become police commissioner.
Mhm.
So there's still good people there, but not everything's perfect. We've got crime syndicates, you've got super villains. So is it worth? Does Batman just doomed to fail because he did everything he could to stop them, and yet they're still there when he's an old man? Like, what do you think?
I feel like there's always going to be, I mean, the moral compass of choice, you know? So whether it's one of those, if you cut off the head, another one grows type deal. So it's better than what it would have been if he would have done nothing, but there's always going to be evil. Me personally, I just keep to myself, be rich. But, thank God everyone's not like me, right?
Yes, thank God for that.
Thank goodness. I'll just I'll keep my head down, give money, pay my tithes, give some money to some charities, and keep
Hey,
my
that's still
very
good work.
law-abiding citizen status.
That's still good work.
Yep.
Yeah, I think you're both bringing up some good points here, and you can't totally destroy crime. You can't totally make people believe in justice and expect that to happen after you've worked to bring other people to that. Yeah, you're going to inspire other people to do that. Like, of course, Barbara was always going to be more like that, but through being Batgirl, but also working with her dad and Bruce, she was still a hero. She's just not, suiting up anymore because she's not able to take that, but she can still be a police commissioner and do that job. Nightwing is apparently somewhere, probably in Bloodhaven, doing something. He just doesn't have a good relationship with Bruce anymore. So there are still people fighting the good fight. There's a Justice League out there fighting the good fight. But I think the issue isn't that human hearts are frail and evil and prone to sin. It's more Bruce was himself to the end. And once again, as mentioned, he's not a cuddly guy. Yeah, he can be soft and affectionate when need be, but he's on mission. And when he's too focused on the mission and not on the people he's supposed to be inspiring and raising up, you're going to end up in the scenario where there's no one to take his place. It'd be like if Paul went to every missionary journey that he did, but he just pissed off everyone that he went across, and he never once tried to make amends or get to their level. And he looked at Timothy and said, "Well, good luck, man," and then moved on. Yeah, instead of coming to him like, "Let me inspire you. Let me show you how to do these things correctly, so that you can go and do the same." And one of those wasn't really his fault. What happens with Tim? He gets a little jokerized for a bit in the movie, uh, in the flashbacks we have there, and gets screwed up as a result. Once again, not really his fault,
Mm,
but he
yeah.
didn't handle it as well as he could. So I think it's more Bruce's fault to an extent that there is not someone doing the same. So this is kind of his redemption, is inspiring someone else to do it while he has kind of lost his way and learning how to be this father figure. And we learn later on, literal father to Terry in many respects, to not make the sins of the past show up again, so that Terry can go and inspire someone else when his time is up. As opposed to, shall we say, a certain sequel series that may have been mentioned earlier, where you have someone who was the paragon of good, who you were inspired at the very end of Return of, let's say, the Jedi, that he would one day rebuild the Jedi and be a good teacher and mentor to people, including his own nephew. But somehow that didn't happen because of terrible writing. But, I think as opposed to something like that, this is Bruce's fault versus character assassination of, let's call that character Luke Skywalker, maybe.
Jake Skywalker. Jake Skywalker.
Yeah.
Not my Luke. Not my Luke. No, but yes, this just revisiting the first two episodes for this was enlightening because this fandom already went through what the Star Wars fans did, and just kind of recently. So it was interesting to see the take on that in the DC.
Yeah. All right. So we mentioned we got Terry Batman, Bruce Batman before this. Like, how do they compare and contrast to one another in their approach to fighting crime?
I mean, you can see Terry as being a teenager, so I mean, he's more reluctant to train sometimes, like when Bruce is like kind of hard on him with discipline, so he definitely lacks, not saying lacks discipline, but I mean, he would rather go out with his girlfriend than train some days, which
Yes.
obviously. Also, remind me what happened to Terry's parents weren't killed, right? They were going through like they weren't
His
close.
his dad, I think, stumbled on some information that the powers were going to
Mm-hmm.
do, and he got killed as a
He
result, so
did
that it
get
wouldn't
killed.
leak.
Okay.
So he wants revenge against him for that, but his mom is still alive, so
Got
he's
it,
with
got
her
it.
and his brother.
So I mean, so they still have like then the backstory of like, kind of revenge, or they have a driving force of why they want to do good, which is nice. And so I mean, I was just thinking as you were talking about like with the good earlier, I was thinking how we were talking at work. There was a guy who is on trial, you know, potentially is going to have a murder charge, and what he did was he saved a woman on the subway from getting assaulted. And so as he was pinning the guy down, the guy who has a track record, who's been convicted before, ended up passing, and now you have a good vigilante, if you will. And now he was, I don't know how, I didn't keep up with it too closely, but he was facing murder trial, you know. And so it's just kind of one of those things of like where's the
Mm-hmm.
line, or where's the thing. And of course, it being cartoons in the 90s, there was an explicit killing, but now you kind of have other DC shows, like I think Arrow, like there's like, very, it's
Yeah.
like getting more violent, more like killing, and so you kind of normalize it. So I appreciate, even though this was, I mean, if they would do it today, I'm sure it would be different since the culture is different. But I appreciate that they still refrained from killing or being like too violent, if that makes sense. So I like that they kept that the same between the two generation, because if they would made like Batman like grandkid, if Terry has his grandkid, it would feel so normal if we saw them and he was sniping people out.
Yeah. 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 Good points. Very good points. I think one of the main differences here is, like has been brought up before, Terry has parents. Terry is rough, but he's not as studious as Bruce was. He's not as motivated as Bruce was. Bruce made this his entire life. Terry, this is part of his life, but he's working. The entire show is part of him learning how to balance, if that's
Mm-hmm.
even possible, you know, being a superhero, protecting Gotham, while also, I do have a test in the morning and I do need to hang out with my girlfriend and show her time. I need to hang out with my family. And Bruce doesn't get it for the most part because, yeah, he did along the way kind of form his family, the Bat family, but his parents were dead. He didn't have siblings. He had Alfred, but that wasn't good enough for him. He had the mission, and that was, I'm going to stop the corruption in the city. So that is, he lives and breathes that, to the point where many times it's been argued Bruce Wayne is the mask and Batman is who he actually is. Your
Mm-hmm.
mileage may vary on that interpretation. I flip
Mm-hmm.
flop on it. I see the wisdom behind parts of it, but that's not Terry. And another way that they're different is Terry actually talks to his villains. Like say, not say Batman never talks, but
Right.
Terry will just talk smack. And while he's beating him up, Bruce would be silent and mess with him through subterfuge and stuff like that. Terry's like, he could do that, but he's also going to punch you in the face and make a joke about you and say he's in a very Spider-Man fashion. And that was
Mm.
another reason why I really liked him, because that's exactly what Spider-Man would do. So there's a contrast there to the point when we do get to the movie Return of the Joker. Terry realizes, oh, you have such an obsession with the old man because he never talked back to you. You always wanted his attention. So let me give you my
Shut them up.
attention and then screw you over because it's going to mess you up, which is something Bruce would never do in the same way. Yeah, he might
Throw
give
them
a
off.
one-liner or something to maybe throw the Joker off, but not in the way the rapid fire kind of comedy that Terry would,
I love it.
to the point where the Joker kind of has a breakdown. It's like, you're not Batman, because he's angry that
Nice.
Terry is Batman.
No, yeah. From what I saw in those two episodes, I got a sense of what I remember of that balance, of that tension that Bruce didn't have to. That Bruce didn't have, and that affected him. And I kind of remember the grumpiness of Bruce and stuff like that. So yeah.
I mean, that's who I'm going to end up becoming as an old man. I'm halfway there myself. I get it.
To get off my
Just
porch.
curmudgeon. Yep. Just do things my way. Quit talking back.
Man, sometimes I do that with my kids, and I remember thinking to myself, I would never say that to my kid, but sometimes it's just so easy to just be like, "Yo, just do what I told you. That's it."
Yeah.
Uh, but that's just a cheat.
Yeah.
That's a cheat.
It's part of the balancing there. It's like, yeah, as a parent, and Bruce really does become a parent, and like we do learn in Justice League, is a parent to Terry. Um,
Mm,
you can't expect him, just because I tell you to do something doesn't mean it's going to click in his mind. You have to explain why you want things done a
yes.
certain way. You have to say, hey, I don't want you doing this because I did it this way and it blew up in my face. Or I want you to do this because it blew up in someone else's face and I saw that and I don't want you to do that. So that's part of his process over time, is learning to be a little softer. He's still not, you know, cuddly grandpa by the end of the show, but he is more affectionate to Terry as a result. And that affects Terry's ability to become a little more like Bruce in certain regards. Say, oh, this is why he wants me to do that. So now he does
Mm,
apply it to his crime fighting while still being himself. All right. So, as mentioned earlier, this was originally pitched as Batman in high school,
which I could see that.
um, which it could have been done. I don't think it would have been done well, but
Wouldn't have
done
lasted so long.
done this way, yeah, I think it's done really well, because we have a wholly new character who is inspired by the original Batman to be his own man, while still wrestling with tests and girlfriends and responsibilities and family. So what stories are told here that only could have happened because Terry was a high school student and Bruce could never have had happen to him?
I'm just trying to look up who played the voice.
So with Terry,
Uh,
I forgot that Terry went to Justice League, but when we watched the Justice
Nice.
League, is it Terry as the character of Batman, or is that just kind of like, how does that fall in line
when
with
he
the
shows up in
shows?
Justice League,
Yeah, is
yeah,
that the Justice
this
League
one,
I watched back in the day, like with the Flash and like Superman and
yeah,
stuff? Not the new one.
they go to the future and they see Terry as Batman there. Also, there's a Justice League episode where I've hinted at, it's him kind of uncovering Amanda Waller and how she's kind of messed with his life and tried to recreate what happened to Bruce with his family,
Hmm.
and actually kind of supplanted his dad's DNA to be replaced with Bruce's. So yeah,
Nice.
Interesting.
but we
I
have
f-
episodes. Yeah, you go ahead.
no, it's just they went with a 90s classic voice actor. He's from A Boy Meets World.
Oh, Will Friedle.
Friedel, yeah.
Which character was he
Yeah.
in Boy Meet World?
He was the he was the cool friend with the cool hair.
Sean. That
Yeah.
was his character name.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. Yep. Nice. That matches. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Love that.
So I'm thinking of one where there's like this rumor at school that a ghost is around
Hmm.
and that it's who's fallen in love with one of the girls, and it turns out it's an earlier character that we met, if I'm remembering my timelines right, who is gained psychokinetic powers and is using that to infiltrate the school and try to like make her fall in love with him. um Never once would, maybe as like a side story, Batman would stumble upon something like that, Bruce would, but never like being like friends with the people who were undergoing this. That's something only Terry could have
Yeah.
done. Or the one where one of his friends that I don't think appears before or after this starts dating a robot, and there's all the high school shenanigans that come with that. That yeah, maybe Bruce has a friend, a rich friend or whatever, who starts dating a robot, but it wouldn't be done in the same way. Like you could only tell it if you have a Batman in high school who is separate from Bruce.
Hmm.
Oh, cool.
So go ahead.
No, just I wanted to speak to the fact on how tight the storytelling is. I
Yes,
forgot how those shows back then they only had like 20 minutes to do it, but it's so compact and it's great storytelling.
oh yeah, and fancy that they did it over, you know, 15, 20 some episodes a season versus
Yeah,
6 to 8,
right. Thank
where
you. Right,
maybe you get 10 today, and that's
right.
great, but I need
With a cliffhanger.
more. Yeah, like can you develop these characters? You can call some of these episodes filler all you want. What they were doing was building the world. They were
They were
building
fleshing it
Terry's
out. Yeah.
supporting cast, new villains, all this stuff that we just don't get today. And I
Hmm.
know production costs have gone up. I know animation costs have gone up, but some of these companies, Disney, can afford to do that. So it gets really frustrating
Hmm.
when you have a cool idea. I loved your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. It needed about 10 more episodes to
But
set up the world of Peter Parker,
it felt like a commercial
right?
or a YouTube short or something like that. I was just, I
Uh,
mean,
yeah,
it's just, there's nothing wrong with it, but I was just like, this is not what I'm used to. Yeah,
I loved X-Men 97. That was 10-ish
that's
episodes,
right.
and
That's right. I forgot about that.
we didn't get a lot. We could
And
have
left
gotten so much more
with a kind of a weird cliffhanger,
with a cliffhanger.
which could have been the mid season, and then we could have had three more episodes maybe, and then perfect. You know,
Yeah,
12,
and I'm not
15
opposed.
episodes.
Yeah, I'm opposed to ending on a cliffhanger. It's if you've given me enough to when we get there. I'm like, I still
Mm.
want more, but you've satisfied me enough to where I can wait a year and not 2 to 3 years
Oh, don't get me
on
started on
certain
that.
projects. Oof. It makes me really upset. And yes, yeah, once again, I know things cost a little more, but you're Disney or you're Warner Brothers. You can afford this. I can't.
Yeah, give it to us.
But yeah, it's not like legacy characters had never existed before this point. We do have Wally West taking over the role of Barry Allen when he uh,
Mm.
dies in Crisis on Infinite Earths. Um, we have in comics, Spider-Man 2099, way further in the future from Peter Parker being his own kind of
Okay,
man.
I was not familiar
Uh,
with
so,
that, so that's cool.
so there's plenty more, but like now, I think some people would argue that we're oversaturated with legacy characters, especially in the comics. But more times you'll see them in Western animation and in the movies. So, like, are legacy characters something natural, like what Terry is here, or are they always just kind of forced, in your opinion?
I
In
never
this
paid
case, I think it
attention.
was. I think in this case it was pretty natural. So
Yeah. Yeah, I would say I completely agree with that sentiment because it makes sense.
Hmm.
Bruce is going to age. It'd be
Yeah.
different, if this was like they tried doing this and Bruce is the same age because comic book time never ends and he's 30 and you've got Terry at like 15 and he wants another Batman. You've got, what was done well, Miles Morales when he shows up in the comics. Is
Yeah.
after the death of Ultimate Peter Parker. And he was bitten by the same spider that he was, but he just didn't have the same chutzpah, the same responsibility that Peter did. So he decided not to go in until he saw Peter die. And it's like, I wasted all this. What if I had actually been there with him? Could I have saved him? And that motivates him to become Spider Man. So that makes perfect sense as opposed to certain other characters. The Ironheart show is about to come out. I hope it succeeds. I have never once cared for her as a character. Her comics are bad. She has been written very poorly. So I hope they
From
can
what I heard,
salvage
yeah.
that. I'm I just think they do a terrible job with her. The other Nova that came out was a Sam Alexander was a nothing compared to Richard Rider. Um,
Mm.
but then you have stuff like in Batman comics, you have Dick Grayson taking the mantle for a little bit, and you have Damian Wayne becoming his Robin for that time, or you have
Yeah.
Commissioner Gordon for a time becoming Batman. You have Azrael. Like they work effectively. It's not the idea that legacy characters are bad; it's how you present them. And I think Terry is presented especially well because the world needs a Batman right now, because Batman can't do the job. So you have someone step up to the plate who is rough around the edges, needs someone who was Batman to teach him how to be Batman.
And don't
And I'm
kill off
perfectly fine with
Batman.
that. Right. And yes, just don't do that needlessly.
Hmm. Yeah.
So something else we've kind of mentioned before is that it is made very apparent throughout the show and the movie and Justice League Unlimited and so on and so forth that Bruce has burnt bridges with most of his friends.
Oh
So
yeah.
like how does the show handle this, and how do you think that Terry kind of learns from his mentor's decisions?
I mean,
Hmm.
he's hot headed, kind of. So I would assume that he doesn't really pay that much attention until it's too late.
Also, I feel like he's seen like a lonely life that, Bruce has kind of lived, and he kind of knows a little bit like it's not good to push everyone away. So I
Yes.
think that that's probably the best thing he learned. Like he needs to keep, even though it's a hindrance and it's hard juggling both, he still needs to
Hmm.
keep his friends and his loved ones and stuff like that. Or literally, he'll be looking at a future where he's the old guy with no one else, and he's still behind the screen.
Yes. Yeah. Well said. It's what Terry sees is a man who's by himself. Yeah, like when he does meet Barbara Gordon, they're cordial enough to talk to one another, but there's clearly some burnt bridges there. Like we never see Nightwing in the show. I think in the comics he shows up at some point in time, but never once throughout those 3 seasons does he attempt to contact, Bruce or even talk to Terry. Tim Drake, what happens to him? Like he got jokerized for a bit. That was a huge bit of mental trauma, and he stopped superheroing as a kid. So it just blows up, and we get eventually in the third season, Superman uh, eventually shows up not to see Bruce, but to see Terry, to have him join the Justice League. And there are other reasons beyond that for why he wants Terry, as an outsider, as someone who could actually solve the plot around the Starro taking control of Superman. So the part of that was Superman didn't want Bruce involved because he was afraid if he got the Starro on him, the world would be gone. But it's also kind of mm, you're not friends anymore. We were friends for years, but you don't reach out to me. I don't reach out to you. Terry sees that and goes, that ain't me. Like he's gonna fight for his friends. He's gonna fight to keep them. He's gonna fight for his girlfriend and eventually fiance. That's one of the things that he learns in that Justice League episode that flashes forward to his timeline. Is like, I don't want to end up like Bruce. I want to have a family, with all the responsibilities and the bad things that come with that. Like a supervillain could find her one day, and we could get a, you know, uh, cut up in the fridge moment or stuffed in the fridge moment. But he takes all that and says, "No, I don't want to be that man." All right, so um, we are going to be doing a bonus question for this one, and this bonus question is going to be, uh, since we have kind of Batman villains who did show up in the show multiple times, not all of them showed up, or there wasn't a legacy character inspired by them. The question we're going to ask is, which Batman villain would we have liked to see either return or to have a legacy villain be inspired by them? So before we go any further, you guys, anything else you want to add before we go to the rating and reviewing? Okay. So out of 10, Batman Beyond, what are you thinking?
I give it a solid 8 because I remember it so well, but not like, obviously characters and stuff, but like I remember enjoying it.
Okay. An 8. Evan, what about you?
I'll do 7. I'll do 7
Oh.
7.
batarangs. Yep.
7 batarangs out of 10.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Um, Screw it. This is a 10 out of 10 for me. This
Ooh,
is
wow.
a perfect continuation of the DCAU. Yeah. Is it flawless in everything it does? No, but am I enjoying every moment of it? Do I want to see more? Do I enjoy the characterization that happens here? Absolutely. Yeah, this isn't, Bruce is washed up and there's no hope of redemption. This isn't, the entire Jedi Academy got destroyed because I'm an idiot. Like, no, there's reasons that things happen here. There's a reason he failed, but there's still hope for better, and that is embodied with Terry. And I have full confidence he's not going to make the same decisions and mistakes that Bruce did. So, 10 out of 10. Love the show. All right. You guys have any recommendations for the audience?
Go watch my campfire thing I said about. It's literally so. Hopefully they get a season 2, but pretty much 4 people get transported into the world, and like 3 people are really great heroes, and they got cool blessing. This dude's blessing, the salaryman, is online shopping, and it's so
Nice.
funny. And he gets a
Buying
familiar,
it.
which is like this pretty much godlike beast, and all he's pretty much a glutton. So everyone is fearing this guy, and it's hilarious. And he be cooking it up, so I'm loving it. It's go watch it. I think it's 12 episodes. You can do it in a day. It's fine. What is work?
There you go. All right, Evan, how about you?
Zeta Project. I say
Ooh,
go down that rabbit hole because I remember watching that movie or that show and completely forgetting that it came from Batman Beyond. So I think it's a fun little companion piece.
okay. Solid choice, solid choices. Yeah, I'm going to say my recommendation, The Stand by Stephen King. I saw it as I was moving all my stuff around.
Oh, okay.
Excuse me, sorry there. Uh, my favorite Stephen King book. I love it. You guys can't go wrong if you want to read that. So that's it for all of that. Guys, thank you for hanging out with me today, discussing this. This was a really fun episode to do. Glad we decided on doing this one. Um, Guys, if you get a chance, if you're listening to this podcast form, leave a 5-star review on your podcasting platform of choice to help us with the ratings there to find more people. If you're on YouTube, leave us a like, subscribe down below. Of course, leave a comment if there's something we said you say we didn't quite get that right, or I think about this, and yeah, we can respond to that. We always love talking to you guys and getting more about what you want from the show. So thank you for that. You can also send us future episode topic ideas. It's like, hey, you guys consider doing this? Answer might be no, because we didn't think about it until you bring it up to us. As well, you can send us questions or concerns or anything you want to just send our way at systematicgeekology@gmail.com. I'd like to shout out some supporters right now. Thank you, Ethan Overcash, Austin Nance, Amber Riley, and Jonathan Augustine. You guys are the best. But remember, we are all the chosen people, a geekdom of priests.